Hey, what is up guys? My name is True Underdog, here today with a guide on how to play RAI CHO. So without further ado, let's break him down step by step. We're going to start off in his default variation, which includes his universal special moves. So in other words, these attacks are always available no matter which variation you're playing. First up, we have Belly Bash. This attack has pretty dang good range, but also puts the opponent at full screen, which is not where RAI CHO wants to be. So make sure to only use it if the opponent's already in the corner, because it does do pretty dang good damage. That being said, it's also very unsafe on block, so if the opponent blocks this attack, I cannot recover in time and I will eat a full combo for my troubles. So do not ever do it raw. In my opinion, it should only be done to end combos in the corner. Now the enhanced version does more damage and also has one hit of armor, so it is good for going through projectiles or beating certain attacks outright. Let me go ahead and show you how that looks. Since it does have armor, the attack could also be useful for a wake up, but I don't recommend it most of the time. Next up, we have Fart Cloud. This attack is actually +1 on block, which is pretty damn good. However, the drawback is that it's very slow to start up, so the opponent can actually interrupt you and hit you before you're done using it, before it has a chance to even come out. So just keep that in mind. What makes this attack very, very good is it extends combos for free. No meter whatsoever. Look at that. 35% no meter, and it wasn't even that hard. RAI CHO honestly has some damaging combos. Now the enhanced version comes out much faster, so that's one benefit. It makes comboing a lot easier. So like right here, I can just do it raw. Makes your combos a bit easier if your execution isn't quite that good. The enhanced version also leaves a little cloud, so if you throw the opponent, they can actually land inside of it and extend your combo. Pretty sneaky stuff, especially since both a low and an overhead both lead into that throw. So it's a free mix-up to try to toss your opponent into the fart cloud. Pretty sneaky stuff. However, if you guess wrong and the opponent blocks it, you're gonna eat a full combo. So just keep that in mind. It's a high risk, high reward kind of situation. Next we have Drunken Fist. This is a very damaging way to end combos and keeps the opponent a lot closer. Just like most attacks on this list, it is not safe on block, so make sure to never do it raw and only do it during combos. The enhanced version is basically the exact same, but does more damage and leaves the opponent stunned for a bit longer. That being said, it's hardly ever worth the meter in my opinion. Next we have Tumble Kicks. This attack hits overhead twice, which makes it great for tricking your opponents in certain situations. So check this out. High, low, low. And the opponent knows that, so what if I do high, low, overhead? Suddenly they blocked low, and I hit him with an overhead. And that's the mix-up with this move. The enhanced version hits 3 times instead of twice, so it's a bit more damage. Again though, just like Drunken Fist, it's not worth the meter in my honest opinion. Next up we have Sumo Stomp. This attack hits the opponent anywhere on screen and is unblockable. If they're on the ground, this attack will catch them. However, if they jump, you're in a lot of trouble, so be careful how you use it. The enhanced version obviously does more damage. Alrighty dogs, that concludes the special moves, so let's go ahead and move on to his next variation. Alrighty, so next off we have the Dragon Breath variation. So in this variation he gets access to certain special moves and different attack strings too. So let's go ahead and talk about them. So Fire Spit has decent range and does a pretty good amount of damage, 9%. It's also safe on block, so keep that in mind. It's 100% safe to end your block strings with this move. The enhanced version does more damage and is +5 on block. So if your opponent blocks this, you're free to go for another mix-up, especially if they're in the corner and can't back away from you. Next we have Up Fire Spit. This attack on its own isn't that great. It's not safe on block either. However, the enhanced version is great for extending your combos, and that's where the damage comes in. Look at that, 36% for only 1 bar. That's not bad at all. It could be better, but still a pretty damn good trade. Now, the enhanced version isn't safe on block either, but it's pretty damn close to being safe on block. Most characters actually can't punish it. So it's a pretty safe option if the opponent does block you. Then again, Fire Spit's better, so I recommend doing Fire Spit. Last but not least, we have Ground Fire. This attack is similar to the Caltrops or the Acid Spit of Alien and Aaron Black. It does damage to your opponent over time. So if you're fighting the opponent and you want to force them to block something, you can always do stuff like this. It may not seem very intimidating right now, but if I run the opponent over to the corner, it becomes a very, very scary situation. Because now everything I do can lead into more damage. So not only is he taking combo damage, but he's also taking damage from the fire. This leads to some very damaging corner combos that don't even cost you any meter. So ground fire is very, very deadly in the corner. The enhanced version does more damage and launches the opponent. However, it's not really worth the meter in my opinion. Like, not really ever. Maybe in certain corner situations it could be a good idea, but I still recommend just going for the meterless version and saving your meter to extend combos instead. Before I forget, I should also mention that all these fire attacks ignite his fart. So that's some pretty funny stuff, right? I mean, look at this, it's pretty dang goofy, right? Dragon's Breath also gets 2 new attack strings. Well, they're actually the same attack strings, but they have different properties. So Hot Heaving now catches the opponent on fire, and Burning Breath also catches the opponent on fire. The input is the exact same, and they even look the same, but they do more damage. Alrighty dogs, that concludes this variation, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Alrighty dogs, so now we have Drunken Master. This is honestly the most complicated variation, so please forgive me if I missed something, because as I just said, there's a lot to it, and I could easily skip something by accident. So first off, we have the Drink ability. This gives RAI CHO access to a lot of different moves. However, if he does not continue to drink, eventually he will throw up. I believe it's about 10 seconds, and when he does throw up, he becomes very vulnerable. You can't push any buttons and you can't block while he's throwing up. So right there, the opponent is free to attack me. And this will happen in the middle of your moves, this will happen mid-combo, it can even happen during your drink if you don't quite have time to get it to his mouth. So like, right at the beginning, I can still throw up. It's happened to me plenty of times, and it sucks when it does in fact happen. Now each time you do a different level of drunk, some of your moves get better. So here's the punch at level 1, right? But if I get to level 2, more damage. If I get to level 3, it's the most damage. And in fact, at level 3, you get what I consider to be the best projectile in the game, which is his vomit. And I'm not saying that just because it's funny. It does 8% damage and is full screen, and the enhanced version does 15% damage for a single projectile, and it's full screen. That's pretty nuts, you guys. It really is a good projectile. That being said, it's a real pain to constantly have to keep drinking. So this variation is not for the faint of heart. Make sure you know what you're doing if you want to main this variation. It's a lot of responsibility. Alright, so you're probably wondering, well, when do I drink? Do I just drop the combo to do it? And that is one way, right? You could just drop the combo, so in a situation like this, totally safe. However, there are also certain moves that allow you to drink free of charge. Spinning Fist is a great one. You can always cancel into the drink if you hit the opponent, which is great. It's a great option and a great chance to always drink up. That's when I prefer to do it the most. If you do the enhanced butt dive, so fart on him, you can actually drink here too if you do the input at the end. See, I was still allowed to drink. You can also do it after the sumo stomp, which is pretty damn cool. And I think you can also do it after the enhanced version of the slaps. Yes, you can. And I believe that is every opportunity you have to drink. And make sure to chug as often as possible so you don't accidentally drop your combos or leave yourself open, which will give your opponent a full combo on your ass. So always be responsible and keep on drinking. And before I forget, the enhanced version takes you to level 3 instantly. So instead of having to do it 3 different times like this, or scattering them between combos, you can just do the enhanced version and you're automatically at level 3. So keep that in mind. It's a very dangerous option, but it's a good way to spend your meter if you really want to get those damaging combos out right away. Alright, so level 1 drunk leads to an attack called Meditate, where RAI CHO lands on the ground for a brief instance. If you hit square, he rolls backward. If you hit circle, he rolls forward. These are pretty good for mobility since he can't get hit by certain projectiles when he does this move, so it's a pretty sneaky way in against certain characters. Keep in mind it will not dodge projectiles that hit mid, only high projectiles. Now if you hit triangle, it'll actually launch the opponent for a short combo. However, I recommend using X instead because it's much easier to combo after, since the opponent's a lot closer. Plus, it's a low as well, so that's another big perk. It hits low. Otherwise, you're given a mid, which is still pretty good, but I recommend the low if you have the chance. What makes Meditate so great is the great way to combo without any meter, whereas normally you wouldn't have that option. There's also an enhanced version of Meditate, but I don't recommend it. I don't think it's worth the meter. From what I can tell, it's just faster. But you should never really burn the meter on that. Again, the whole reason of Meditate is that it's a meterless option. That's the whole reason I use it. So spending meter doesn't really make sense and sounds pretty counterintuitive in my honest opinion. Next up, we have Head Dive. So this move has pretty damn good range and hits mid, so your opponent can't duck under it. This is a pretty good option if you just want to close that distance real quick. However, it's not safe on block, so it's very risky to use raw. However, much like the belly bump, the enhanced version has armor, and does more damage too, so keep that in mind. It's a great way to close the distance and hit your opponent. Is that full screen? My god, you guys, it is full screen. You have a full screen armor move that turns RAI CHO into a human projectile. That's some pretty crazy stuff. Alrighty, next up we have Spinning Fist. This is honestly my preferred way to end most combos. It does decent damage and you can always cancel it into another drink. And each time you drink, it gets a bit stronger, which I personally love. Now, it's -8, which means it is technically punishable, but it's very hard for most characters to actually punish it, since it does have pretty good pushback on block. Honestly, the main reason I prefer it is it does the most damage, and you're also given a chance to drink as well. The enhanced version does more damage, but I don't think it's worth the meter. Not in my honest opinion. Alrighty, next up we have Spit Daze. This projectile is actually pretty damn good for extending combos, and you wouldn't think that, but check it out. Look at that, 30%, and I still had time to drink too. So I honestly love this projectile. It's only for opponents who are really close, but it's also kind of an anti-air as well. It's a great way to stop your opponent from advancing. Plus, the enhanced version is safe on block, so keep that in mind. Only the level 1 version though. If you get to level 3, things change quite a bit. So if I get all the way to level 3 drunk, the projectile has a lot more range. And it hits mid, so the opponent can't actually duck under this. Now it's not quite full screen, but it's pretty damn close. And as you saw earlier, the enhanced version is full screen and does 15% damage. That's crazy for a projectile, you guys. In fact, if you're at level 3 drunk and you have the meter to spend, I recommend almost always ending your combo with the vomit. It just does so much damage, it's not even funny. Look at that, 36%, oh man, that's pretty scary stuff. And last on our list, we have Multi-Slap. Now this move actually requires you to be at level 2 drunk. It does decent damage, and you can drink afterwards as well. The timing's a bit weird though, let me try that again. I know for a fact that you can do it. Is it just the enhanced version? Maybe so. Maybe you should just mash it. Yeah, just go ahead and mash it. If you mash it, it seems to always work. Sorry guys, it's not very consistent. I was trying to get it to come out and mashing was the best way to make it happen. So this attack does pretty dang good damage. Not as much as the Spinning Fist though. So I don't really know why you would prefer to use it as opposed to Spinning Fist, which does the same amount of damage without any meter. Alrighty, so just like Dragon Breath, these two inputs on screen also change in Drunken Master. So at their bare minimum, they're just a good chance to drink, right? You got an overhead and you have a low, and both of them lead into a chance to drink, which is great. However, once you're at least level 1 drunk, the animations actually change, and you get a lot more damage. Look at that, 18% for both the overhead and the low. That's pretty nuts. Now you can't cancel them into drink, unfortunately, so that is your one downside. Once you get the drink, your attacks no longer become an option to drink more, which is a bit counterintuitive, but it's kind of the price you pay. Alrighty dogs, that covers Drunken Master. Please tell me in the comments below if I missed anything, because I'm sure I did. It's a very, very complicated variation. But let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Alrighty dogs, last but not least we have the Bartitsu variation. Now this variation is also pretty complicated, but mainly because it gives them a lot of different attack strings. So let's go ahead and get right into it. First off, we have Flying Kick. This attack does pretty damn good damage and replaces his belly bump. Now it's not quite safe on block and it has no enhanced version. However, it's still a great way to end combos. 11% for 2 hits is pretty damn good. Next up, we have Spinning Cane. Now honestly, I don't know why you would use this move. It's more unsafe than Flying Kick and does less damage and requires more hits to get the damage, meaning it actually scales worse during combos. The enhanced version is a bit better for damage, but still not worth it in my opinion. So I honestly don't recommend ever doing Spinning Cane. It just doesn't seem worth it. Then there's Cane Snag. This attack is great for grabbing your opponent and bringing them in close. Now it does not start off combos, right? No matter how fast you are, you can't start a combo with it. However, what it is good for is closing that distance. Grab them and pull them in. Now it is unsafe on block, so be careful how you use it. The enhanced version knocks the opponent back to about full screen, which is pretty much the opposite of why you would use this move. So I don't recommend doing the enhanced version unless you just really need that damage, but if you do, there are better ways to get it. And then there's Cane Snap. This attack is actually very useful. It has great range and it's safe on block. So if you do an unsafe attack string, go ahead and end it with this and you're in pretty good shape, because it's always safe. I believe it's -5. And the enhanced version does even more damage and is -2, so it's even safer on block. Both these options are very good, and it's a very useful move if your opponent knows how to block and isn't falling for any of your mix-ups. It's a pretty good weapon, honestly. Just a great attack overall. Next up, we have Cane Flurry. This attack is not safe on block, so make sure you combo into it. And the reason why is the enhanced version. This bad boy knocks the opponent into the air for a full combo. It's also a damaging way to end combos as well. Look at that, 41% for a very basic combo. This variation definitely hits hard as long as you have the meter for the enhanced Cane Flurry, because my god, that thing hurts. If you're more talented with your execution, you can actually sneak in a neutral jump punch and still continue your combo like normal. It's a bit tougher, but it's still doable. And last but not least, we have Low Cane. This attack is much like the Cane Snap, only it hits low and has much worse range. Still though, it's a free low attack. So if you're doing an attack that ends in an overhead, like say this, you can swap it out with the Low Cane and trick your opponent. That's some pretty good free damage. So if you have any attacks that normally end in an overhead, just replace it with the Low Cane to keep your opponent guessing. It's like before when we used the front flip, but instead of swapping a low for an overhead, you're swapping an overhead for a low. Now you can actually extend the combo by holding down the right trigger. And what this does is it actually cancels the attack early and allows you to follow it up. Pretty cool stuff. Still some pretty dang good damage. 27%. Now it's not as good as the enhanced Cane Flurry, but it's still a pretty good option since it does hit low. It's a free mix-up. Alrighty dogs, so that covers all the special moves, so let's go ahead and move on to his attack strings, because there are quite a few in this variation. And voila, would you look at that, they appeared on screen like magic. So first off, we have Good Times. This attack has a sneaky overhead and then ends in a low. Now it's not very good range, you gotta be kinda close to your opponent, but it's still a very tricky mix-up. And just like before, the last hit can be swapped out with an overhead instead to trick your opponent. So overhead and then another overhead. If they start blocking that, just do the low. It's a free mix-up. That being said, it is -8 on block, so it is technically punishable, but it's pretty hard for the opponent to do. And then we have Sick Tricks. If you do the entire combo, it ends in an overhead and is safe. If you do the first two, it's actually not safe, but it does end in a low and you can extend the combo that way. If you do the full thing, you obviously can't extend your combo any further, but it does become safe and hit overhead. And just like before, swap it with a low and you got a free mix-up. Next we have Straight Up. This attack string is not safe, so I do recommend comboing into it after a fart cloud or something like that, because it does lead to some really good damage. That being said, the first two hits are actually -8, so they're a lot safer, and you can also cancel it into the straight staff, right? This move is safe, so if you do it and you mess up and the opponent blocks, go ahead and save yourself with this. It's a pretty good option. Next up we have Razzle Dazzle and the Hotness. So just like before, these are lows and overheads that lead into a command grab. However, in Bartitsu, they do a lot of damage, 21% for free, meaning this now becomes your best way to end a lot of your combos. Not only is it a mix-up, but it's also a great combo finisher, so keep that in mind. It's a very deadly attack string, especially in this variation. Alrighty dogs, so we covered every special move and the attack strings for each variation, but let's go ahead and discuss his basic attack strings next. Alrighty dogs, so RAI CHO has a lot of attack strings, so we're going to split it up into two parts. Here are the first set of attack strings. First up, we have Eye Gouge. This is a great hit confirm, right? Great to make sure that if your opponent blocks, you're still safe, but if it gets hit, it leads into a full combo. And that's why you use this attack string. It's fast, it's safe, and it's a good hit confirm. Next we have Sloppy Shots. This attack is great for ending combos because it's fast and does a lot of damage. So if you're fighting the opponent in the corner, it's a great way to end some of your longer combos, right? Because you're knocking the opponent into the air and you're like, what do I have time for? And the answer is Sloppy Shots. That's your quick combo ender in certain situations. Next we have On the Rocks. This attack hits low and is actually safe as long as you don't finish it. That's why I prefer to always do On the Rocks. I don't ever finish the attack sequence. If you do, it's not safe. Still, it's a pretty dang good low option, right? Now, the drawback is you gotta be right in the opponent's face for it to connect. Otherwise, it will whiff. It's got pretty lousy range. Look at that. Gotta be right in their face. And then there's Snake Bomb. So, this attack is great for corner combos You saw it a bit earlier, but basically everything leads into this in the corner. So if I launch him with an overhead, here comes the combo. Right? And if I do a different combo, it still works. If you launch the opponent in the corner, this combo is your best friend. Well, I dropped it there. Sorry, dogs. Please don't crucify me. Next up, we have Drunken Legs. This attack we showed a bit earlier. It hits low twice, which means it's great for tricking your opponent with a surprise overhead, right? Catch him off guard. Very, very sneaky stuff. Now, it's not safe on block, so that mix-up is always a good idea to keep in your back pocket, right? High, low, low, or high, low, overhead. That's always one of your easiest mix-ups with RAI CHO. And then we have Seeing Double. This attack has incredible range. It's got very slow startup though, that's the drawback. Now, on top of having great range, it also does a ton of damage. So you'll oftentimes see me doing this move to extend combos and to start them off if I have the opportunity, because it's just a lot of damage. So if you do stun the opponent with a fart cloud, you always want to lead into this. It's a very damaging attack string. Alrighty then, now on to the second set of attack strings. First off, we have Bombed. This attack hits overhead and is great for starting off combos. However, it's not safe on block. Thankfully, it does have a pretty dang good set of mix-ups. You have the overhead at the end, and you have the low in the middle, which you could always swap out for an overhead if you felt like it. So it's a pretty sneaky attack string. And in the corner, you have to do a full combo. Sorry guys, had to burp. I love to drink soda, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Woof. And next up we have Twisting Flask. This attack hits low and launches the opponent. Now you can always combo after it mid-screen. However, it's the easiest to combo after it in the corner. Man, look at this. I mean, look at this attack string. It's just so evil, right? Once again, I dropped my combo, but you get the idea. It's a low that leads into a damaging combo in the corner. Redemption. No, I still messed up. Oh my god, guys, I'm all thumbs today. Sorry about that. Next up, we have Staggering Step. Now, this attack hits overhead twice and launches the opponent in the corner for a full combo. You saw it a bit earlier. Let's go ahead and show it one more time. There we go. I finally managed to do the combo. Good for me. Gonna pat myself on the back. And last but not least, we have Dazed and Confused. This is one of RAI CHO's most deadly attack strings because it leads into some very good meterless damage. It also has a couple of mix-ups in it, but it's not safe on block. So it is a very, very risky attack string. That being said, that's some pretty good damage for no meter at all. It's a high risk, high reward kind of attack string. And personally, it's my favorite attack string in his arsenal. Alrighty dogs, and last but not least, we have RAI CHO's X-Ray. Now unlike any other X-Ray in the game, this X-Ray is unblockable, which is pretty crazy stuff. However, to compensate it, or should I say nerf it, it's purposely very slow and it does not break armor like other X-Rays do, so your opponent can actually armor out of it. Now since it is so slow, it's actually impossible to combo into after an attack string. That being said, there is one way to combo into it, and it's after a fart cloud. However, if you watch the damage, it's definitely not worth all 3 bars, especially with a character like RAI CHO, who can do 40% with 1 bar. This is only worth it if it for sure kills your opponent, because you can't combo break an X-Ray. That's the only reason I would ever recommend doing it. If you know for a fact it's gonna kill, and your opponent would otherwise have the meter to break the combo, then go for the X-Ray. Another cool thing about this X-Ray is you can actually hold it down for a pretty long amount of time. So if your opponent is mid-jump, they will land in it and it'll still combo. Now if you are holding it down, you can dash forward or dash backward while you're holding down the button. So you're never actually committed into staying there, but still, if I'm fighting Shinnok and he jumps, I can do it immediately and he will land in it. That's some pretty dirty stuff. And since it is unblockable, you want to do attack strings to leave your opponent in a lot of hit stun. In my opinion, the attack strings on screen are the best way to trick your opponent with this unblockable X-Ray, since they're either safe on block or +2 on block in the case of staggering strikes. That's actually your best option into landing the X-Ray. A lot of the time the opponent will try to jump straight up to avoid it. If that's the case, just hold it down. They should be forced to land back inside of it, unless they kick you, which they could definitely do. Alrighty dogs, let's put it all together for some basic bread and butter combos. The button translations are in the video description below. Please leave a like down below if you enjoyed this guide. And while you're down there, go ahead and post a comment too. Tell me what you think. And if you haven't already, please subscribe for more videos, because we have content on this channel every single week. It is never a dull moment on Underdog Gaming. So make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.
RAI CHO wins. Fatality.